and then we'll get you the recording later. But I have to tell you by law that you're being recorded. So spirit guides, look at all the people that showed up for guides. This is awesome. I love my guides. I love teaching about spirit guides. I love talking about spirit guides. I'm all things spirit guides. So in the email that you got, there will be this little handout that you can refer to if you want to. I'm going to go in a little bit of a different order than what you have, because I think the most important thing to do is start talking about what is a spirit guide, which is actually underneath the introduction part on your paper. What are guides? Why do we need them? How do they work? We don't need them, but we need them. They're your biggest cheerleader, and they love you unconditionally. So it's so wonderful that we come to Earth with this whole band of people that are just there to love you and guide you and support you on this fantastic journey we call life, because life is not always easy. However, we always have someone with us there to support us along the way. So a spirit guide is a highly evolved soul that once lived on Earth as a human being. So they say that angels have not lived on Earth, with the exception of maybe one or two. That's what they say. I don't know that that's true. Everything that I'm going to teach you about spirit guides is my opinion and my experience. You may disagree, and far be it for me to say you're wrong. I don't dismiss anybody's experiences, even if they're different from my own, because we all learn differently how our mediumship works, and guides do not have to be connected to mediumship. Guides are connected to everyone that is born in life. So you don't have to do mediumship. This is coming from a mediumship group. However, you don't have to do mediumship to want to know who your guides are and connect with them. So know that they have at some point lived on Earth. And we make an agreement with spirit guides before we are born. Now, don't ask me, is it, when technically, is it when we're actually born? Is it when we're conceived? It doesn't matter. We make it before all of that. We make an agreement with these guides to support us from birth until death. Now, I do not think any of my guides, let me go back. I did not know any of my guides that I'm aware of prior to incarnating, prior to being born. However, my assumption is going to be that these are people that I am friends with on the other side. Imagine if the earth plane is heaven and someone is going to incarnate into another world and you're their friends. Wouldn't you be there to love, guide, and support them through their journey from the time they're born to the time that they come back home? Of course you would. So I would want to think that all of our guides are people that we met and know on the other side. Now, they may not be our friends. They might be inspirers, teachers, people that we're drawn to, just like any kind of class that you're going to take that you have the opportunity to choose a teacher. You're going to pick that one that you're drawn to. I imagine guides are the same thing. You're going to choose the one that you feel is going to love and support you the most along the way. These guides, like I said, are highly evolved. They didn't get to the other side last week. They've been there for a while. So it's not unusual to have a guide from the 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, because there's no time on the other side. So it's a long time to us, but to spirit, it is not. Guides can empathize with the human experience and with emotions because they've been here. They understand what it's like. It would be like you having an experience in life and then meeting someone that has a similar experience. You can empathize with them. If you lived in a different state, how do I want to put this? So I live in Maryland. However, I was born in upstate New York. So if I meet somebody in Maryland that lived in upstate New York, I can understand what their experiences may have been in New York, because each state has its own flavor and its own culture and its own things that make it different from all the other states. So it would be the same thing on the other side. It would be somebody that would have a similar experience or something, that they understand what it's like to go through certain things. Because our guides already know what it is that we want to do when we incarnate, what is our soul's purpose. And by a soul's purpose, because everybody has their own definition, I want to be clear in how I use a soul purpose. A soul purpose is why you incarnate, why you are born, what is it that your soul wants to express in the world, whatever that is. So your guides already know what this soul purpose is, what it is that, why did you bother to come in the first place? Why would you come in the first place? Because there are certain things that you want to experience, or there are certain things that you want to accomplish. Your guides would be there. They would understand that and support that. And that might be why you choose a particular guide before you incarnate, to be by your side as you go through life, because they're the best person to help you for that. They have a clear understanding of the spirit realm and a clear understanding of the earth plane. So that's what makes them excellent people to be your guide. And they always have your highest and best at heart. Anne's got her little friend, a little puppy friend. I love the puppies. I love the children. We got another puppy friend. I love it when you bring the dogs in. The dogs and the cats. It's like, oh, they're going to get all woosah and learn while they're here. I love that.
I had to fill his Kong with peanut butter so that they leave me alone while he's telling me he's it up.
Ah.
Like,
Well, we're glad the dog has come along for the ride.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, when we incarnate, most of us, some people carry through a little bit of memory. Mute. There's something coming from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from. Oh, there we go. All right, we're good now. Nope, we're not. Am I the only one hearing that? Okay, let me see.
It's Cindy G.
Yeah, let me see if I can mute her. Yep, I can. Okay, we got it. She probably didn't know. No problem. So when we incarnate, we have amnesia to the guides that we made a contract with to come in. We don't remember them. We don't know what they told us. We don't remember anything about our life before our life on earth. We have amnesia to the true nature of who we are, and we even forget that we're souls. We're souls first. You're a soul having a human experience, as they say. So things can seem like challenges on earth because we forget our divine nature and who it is that we truly are. We are not this physical suitcase, the skin and bones. That is not us. So your guides can help you in keeping your connection to your higher self and to your soul's purpose, because that's their focus. That's their job. So their role is to guide you to stay on track with your soul's purpose. We often spend much of our life trying to figure out what is our soul's purpose. Why are we here in the first place? Pay attention to yourself. What makes you happy? What makes you feel blissful? Think back to your childhood, things that you were, that appealed to you back then. I know that when I was a child, I was very drawn to tigers. I had a bedspread with tigers on it. I had tiger pictures in my room. I really don't know why I had an affinity for tigers, but for some reason I did, and I just accept that. So if you go back to number one, and they're beautiful animals. I mean, absolutely gorgeous animals. But I'm not the person to look up, what is the energy of a particular animal or that kind of thing. I generally don't do that. But for some people, they might want to do that, to think of something in their childhood. But you want to go back to the things that you were drawn to in your childhood. I also remember in my childhood that I was drawn to King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and there was a series of books about King Arthur. And there must be some kind of a link, because there would be no logical reason why I would be drawn to that kind of a thing. But for some reason I was. So we all have things, if we look back on our childhood, that we were drawn to, and that could be a clue as to the energy of one of your guides. It may not be. It might be something else that you might want to explore, but that's one of the things that you can look at, is look at your life and what makes you happy and what were things you were drawn to as a child. Now, your guides, in order to keep you on track for your soul's purpose, how do they do that? They will place people, experiences, resources, books, whatever it is that they can find that will help you to satisfy your need, what it is that you need to express in the world. They are not going to force you to do anything. They merely make the experience, the person, like I said, the resource, available to you, but they will never interfere with your free will. They understand that we have free will. I don't believe that our lives are predestined, because what would be the point of that? We would have no free will if it's just, because some people will say things are predestined. However, I do think there are certain things that, as part of our soul purpose, that we want to experience or accomplish. So your guides will assist you in making that happen, because they know that's what your soul needs. They want to fill that soul desire. They do that oftentimes through intuition. Do you like someone? Do you not like someone? Is there a particular place that makes you happy? I love Green Bay, Wisconsin. Come to find out, never mind I'm a Packers fan, but I was drawn to Wisconsin before I was drawn to the football team. I found out in working with my guides that one of my guides was a Native American from that area, the Michigan, Wisconsin area. And I can never say the name of the tribe right. It's Potawatomi or something along those lines. That I got that name in a meditation in working with my guide. So it would make sense to me that when I go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, I feel at home. I always feel happy there. There's something joyous about being there. Somebody else might go there and go, oh, they have paper mills here. This place stinks. Like it's cold, it's snowy, it's freezing. Might not be drawn to it at all. But for me, it's one of my happy places, is Green Bay. For no logical reason. Never lived there. No logical reason why I'd be drawn to that area until I got the story from my one guide. So you're going to tap into your intuition or tap into feelings and say, how do I feel about certain things? and this can be your guide talking to you. Now, I have to stress, very important, your guides cannot work completely on your behalf without your permission, because they cannot interfere in your free will. So it's important, especially now that you're aware of that you have guides, and we'll go over what the 5 main guides are in this introductory class. It's very, very important that you give them permission. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, or when you go to bed at night, tonight, you can say, you know, I invite you to visit me in a dream. Or when you get up tomorrow morning, you can say, I invite you to intercede on my behalf for my highest and best all day today. And give them permission to step in on your behalf for your highest and best. If you have looked at Spirit Guides information before, there's a lot of very good sites on the internet that talk about Spirit Guides. There's a lot of sites, there are a bunch of hooey, if you ask me, but there's some that are really very good. A book that I was drawn to early in my mediumship development is a book called So You Want to Be a Medium by an author named Rose Van den Enden. And I had the opportunity this summer, Lillian Suarez, who I work with, most of you probably know Lillian. Lillian and I went and taught a class at Lilydale this summer, and Rose Van den Enden happened to be there doing a Spirit Guides class, and I was in heaven. I was like, I was seeing a rock star or something, because I'm so familiar with her book and her information on Spirit Guides. And we had the opportunity to talk about guides. And she said when she wrote the book, that it was her understanding that we had 5 main guides, and pretty much those 5 main guides are what we have, and no more, no less. She has since learned, and I had this understanding long before we talked, there's no limit to the number of guides that may come in and out of your life in your lifetime, or in any one period of time. But there are, for the sake of presenting it in ways that people can understand, we talk about the 5 main guides, which they are birth to death guides. Those 5. That's not to say that you don't have more. You might have more than this. But these are the 5 that we can kind of identify that pretty much every person has. These 5 main guides from birth to death. Now, I know there are probably some of you that will say, my grandmother is one of my spirit guides, or I lost a fiance or a husband and he's a spirit guide on the other side. If these are people that you knew in life, they cannot be one of your main guides. That is not to say that they cannot be guiding you and be a guide in your life, but they cannot be one of your 5 main guides, because they were not there when you were born, or that they were there when you were born, but you wouldn't have known them in life. You would have made a soul contract before you were born. So you can't make a soul contract with someone that's already in the living. Okay, so if that, hopefully that clarifies for some of you. I don't want to tell anybody that has a very good relationship with a spirit guide that might be their grandmother that, oh, the grandmother can't be a guide. That's not true. And I've heard people say things like that. If you knew the grandmother living, you're going to understand the energy of the grandmother. So aren't you the perfect person when they feel the grandma energy come in to know that she's there guiding you in that moment? The 5 main guides that we're going to talk about tonight may be energy that when you connect with those guides that you're familiar with and didn't know it, you may connect and be like, oh, this feels really familiar to me. Or it could be brand new to you. We don't know what's going to happen. When we do the meditation tonight, we're just going to buy any loving guide, that you have, and if that's grandma or one of the 5 main guides or whoever it is, to come in and work with you, we're not going to put a stipulation on who that person is that comes in. Okay? So just invite anybody in when we do it. So 5 main guides. They have specific roles and what they do, and we'll briefly go over all of those. Okay, so we're going to talk about number 1 is a joy guide. A joy guide is really her purpose, or his purpose is to remind you that life is not so serious, and to have fun, and they have an amazing sense of humor. They tend oftentimes to be children when they come in, because they have that energy of not being tainted by experiences in life. They have an infectious sense of humor. They can be quite funny and quite goofy, and like to dance and sing. I do want to specify here that if you connect with a guide that seems not human, somebody might say, oh, I connected with this particular, a joy guide. The first time my daughter connected with her joy guide, he came through as a leprechaun. I've had cartoon characters for people that come in as guides. That doesn't mean that their guide is a cartoon character. It doesn't mean that my daughter's guide is a leprechaun. What it means is they're showing you the energy, the type of energy, and how it might look, or in a way that you would understand. So for my daughter, it was this goofy guy with a hat dancing around talking about, oh, the end of the rainbow, very excited. And you couldn't help but laugh when you look at him. There was one of the guys in our group had another little, like, he was kind of cartoonish guy. And when we would talk about symbols, meaning SYMBOLS, the symbol for something, the guy said his little joy guide would come in with 2 little metal symbols and go and hit the symbols, and it would make everybody laugh. He's like, oh, he's here again. Hits the symbols together, and we would all laugh about it. So your guides are here to remind you to have fun, the joy guide, to not take life so seriously. And have you ever had those times where there's a very serious thing going on, and all of a sudden your mind goes to the humor of it, and you might laugh at an inappropriate time, or think an inappropriate thought about something that's really very serious? That's your joy guide, especially if it's a sad thing. If it's a sad thing and then all of a sudden you're chuckling, it can appear to be very inappropriate. But what's happening is your joy guide is trying to lift you up. What's for your highest and best? To be sad and depressed? No, it's for your highest and best to be uplifted. So they might make you see something from a point of view that is quite funny, even though the situation itself is not funny. So that's your joy guide. Usually children, not always, sometimes teens. If somebody, excuse me, if a guide shows up like a dragon, does that mean that somebody's guide is a dragon? No, it would be dragon energy. That kind of a feeling why they would show up that way. So that was joy guide. Always lighthearted, all that kind of thing. Your joy guide is generally not your main guide, not your primary guide. So we have 5 main guides, but of those, there's one that will generally stand out to you. The joy guide is generally not that, unless you're a stand-up comedian or you're in a job where you need to be funny. If you're a clown, children's clown, those kind of things. Joy guide would be the guide that you would probably most connect with. Okay, that was weird. I'm just going to shut up now. It was like somebody was coming in the door. It's like, oh, we have wrapping over there. Okay, we're going to let that go right now. It was like, I really thought the door was going to open. And it's the door to the furnace room. It's not the, only in my world. Okay, moving on. Protector guide. Maybe he's here. my protector guide is my favorite. So protector guide, the protector guides understand, they're about physical protection, protecting you from accidents, from falling, from serious situations. It's that nudge to make a left when you were going to go right because left just feels better. It's that day that you're ticked off because you dropped your cup of coffee all over your lap getting into the car, and so you had to go back in and change your clothes. And that bit of time that it took you to go in and change your clothes, you realize later on you avoided a car accident, because had you gotten in your car and gone, you would have been about there. And let me tell you, there's a million times that your protector guides are there. They have your back, and they are doing things that you never know what creepy thing could have happened. Had your guides not nudged you in a different direction. I don't know if you remember the girl in Aruba that they never, Natalie Holloway. There was a Natalie, she was in Aruba and disappeared. I don't think they ever found her. But my daughter was in Aruba 3 weeks earlier at whatever the bar was, something in Charlie's, I can't think of the name of it, and spent the night sharing drinks with a Dutch guy and 2 Middle Eastern guys. Now, was it the same guys? Do we know that? And she said, you know, they're like, oh, come out and have drinks with us. And she said she just had this gut feeling like, no. Was it the same guys? We don't know it, but it's kind of a weird similarity thing there. So your guides, a lot of times you don't know. You don't know that they have saved your butt from something happening to you. So not everything that looks like it's bad luck today. Oh, I've had bad luck all day. I keep dropping things. I keep whatever. Whatever the situation is, many times it's our guides acting on our behalf to protect us from something happening that would not be for our highest and best. That's your protector guide. Physical earth plane. That's the kind of things that they work on. They also can steer us away from negative people. If there are people that are not for our highest and best, they might steer your desk. You get into work and they're like, oh, you're going to be working at this desk. And then you find out, oops, 2 days later, yeah, it's not this desk. We're moving you down the hall to the office on the left. That could be your guides setting that up, because whatever was going to happen in office number 1 was not for your highest and best. Somebody you were going to work with, sit next to, whatever was not for your highest and best. So that's your protector guide. The next one is your teacher guide, sometimes called Dr. Teacher, sometimes called Doctor of Philosophy, depending on who you ask. So the teacher guides are really about helping us sort out our spiritual path and helping us with our life lessons, what we came into, why we incarnated, what experiences do we want to have. They're always concerned about your spiritual growth and your spiritual health. So they will bring situations to you to help you spiritually be better people and to live your life in the best possible way that you can. If you open yourself to the guidance of these guides, your life can be drastically changed for the better. But we have to listen. And I myself am very, very guilty of thinking that I can fix things. I alone can make things happen. Even when my guides say that person's not good for you. Oh, but we've been friends for a very long time. I can fix this. And then it ends up not a happy ending. Let's put it that way. If I had listened to my guides, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache trying to fix a situation that couldn't be fixed. We all have them in life. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that the energies didn't no longer jive. They may have at one time, and now they don't. It's part of life. I have a tickle in my throat. I am so sorry that I am trying to get rid of.
Hi, Lou. Can I share something?
Sure, go ahead, hon.
So I was close to dying. I was hit and ran over by a car.
Ooh.
And I heard a voice. I felt this energy pick me up, and they put me in a fetal position, like from both, like just put me in a position. They said, "Don't ask why. Cover your ears with your head. Cover your hands with your ear over your ears."
Right.
I lost my hand. I lost my fingertips, and I didn't cut my brain because they said I was millimeters from hitting my brain, and that was my protector guide.
Wow.
So the doctors, like, they're like, the timing belt took my fingers, and there's like, "You're amazing. You're here for a reason. That you're a miracle, and you're not supposed to be here." And then I went to the other side. Then I had a near-death experience as well.
Wow. That's amazing.
But
Now,
it's
do
going
you know
on.
your protector guide?
I
Oh, I
feel
can't
them.
wait.
But that's like the physical. And I was like, I know I'm here for a purpose. And that day was not supposed to be the day that I was supposed to go. But I was like
Wow.
millimeters from like my fingertips on like millimeters from my head.
Okay, so is it okay if I say something to you? How many people would have had that experience and would have spent their life worrying and complaining about not having the fingertips? And then there's somebody like you that knows that you're here for a bigger purpose and that understands that you're being divinely guided from the other side. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing that, because these are things that we can all have, those experiences. I mean, I can't wait for you to meet your protector guide. That's going to be fantastic. Awesome. Yay. Yay, yay. So if you don't meet him tonight, you let me know, because I might have to hook you up. I'll give you a meditation or something to do. Okay, that's a phenomenal story. Thank you so much for sharing. This is why these kind of things are so fun, because we're just, as teachers, creating the space to have these stories. There is nothing that I can say tonight that is going to be nearly as important as what Jamie just shared with us. So we're all teachers and we're all students. Nothing I can say could be any bigger than what she just shared with us. And I really want to thank you for speaking up and sharing, because that's fantastic.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we're moving on to our Dr. Chemist Guide, sometimes just called the Chemist Guide. Chemist Guides are concerned with the physical body, the health, your well-being, physical body. For those of you that might do work outside of mental mediumship, do trance work or physical mediumship work, your Chemist Guide will be more closely connected to you than maybe another guide would, especially when you're doing that work. Now, your Chemist Guides want you to be here to fulfill your soul's purpose. So they're going to be the ones to remind you, make sure you exercise, make sure you eat right. They're probably the guide that you don't like the most because they will poke you with a stick to get you to do what is important for the physical body, the vessel that houses that amazing soul that you are. That's their primary job as the Chemist Guide. Master Teacher Guide is the 5th of the 5 main guides. So Joy Guide, Protector Guide, Teacher Guide, Chemist Guide. The 5th guide is your Master Guide, sometimes called the Master Teacher Guide. And that guide generally oversees all the other guides. They tend to be very, very high vibration. If you go through a series of meditations working with guides, when you get to the Master Teacher Guide, you can kind of have the jittery, shaky feeling. I call it the internal shakes, because if I put my hands out like this, they can be perfectly steady, but inside I feel like this. Some people get that. So, okay. Some people can get this if you wake up in the middle of the night, and you have that weird shaky feeling. Sometimes guides will come and work with us for our highest and best in the night. They bring healing. Especially your chemist guide might come to help you work on something. Have you ever gone to bed feeling ill and then you get up the next morning and whatever you went to bed with that was feeling ill in the morning, you're like, wow, where did that go? Where did that upset tummy go? Where did this go? They will work on you while you're sleeping. However, if you wake up at a time that they're close, you can get that jittery feeling inside. It can be unsettling when it's in the middle of the night. But you can, if you're doing a meditation to meet your master guide, you can come out of that too. So some ways to get rid of the jitters. You need to ground. So if you know how to ground in whatever way is comfortable for you. One of my favorite ways to ground is dark chocolate. The darker, the better. Very, very grounding chocolate. Eating anything, actually, as soon as you switch to digestion, your body is doing something physical, digesting food, it's grounding. Some people have a small jar with water and salt, sea salt, Epsom salt, even table salt if you need to, sitting next to them, and you can dip your fingers in it and kind of splash your fingers around in the water. That will help to ground you. So if you're the kind of person that you start to notice that you start to get those internal jitters, that's one of the things that can help you to kind of get rid of them. They don't last long. It's not like you're going to walk around all day with it, the internal jitters. It's usually a matter of minutes. They go away. But it's that middle of the night where you go, why do I feel like I'm shaking all over? But you're not shaking. You just feel like you're shaking. Internal jitters. So the Master Teacher Guide, as I said, oversees all the other guides. Think of that guide as the principal of the school, and your other guides as the regular teachers. So the principal was a teacher, probably still is teaching. However, responsibilities have gone to the overview of all the guides to make sure that they're communicating, and I don't honestly know exactly how they do it. Some things for me are, as much as I want to know every little thing, I've come to realize that in spirituality, there's just some things I don't need to know. I don't need to know how it works. I just need to accept that it does. How it happens doesn't matter. But that's their role. And they can touch in with us when the greatest spiritual need is there. If you've ever had a traumatic experience and all of a sudden heard your name being called in your ear and you're like, where did that come from? Chances are that's your master guide trying to get your attention. Or you just feel this presence over your shoulder and you turn around and there's no one there. That can be the master guide trying to get your attention. They will literally stop you in your tracks from crossing a street. Have you ever had that where you're getting ready to cross or something's happening and then all of a sudden you get that whatever? I've had, my son fell out of a tree and he has an experience where he talks about someone catching him before he caught the ground. And he said it was almost like there was a net that caught me and then placed me on the ground. And he fell. He was an idiot. You know, like boys think they can go 40 feet up in a tree and that it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to fall out of it. Luckily for him, someone caught him. Now, could that have been a loved one? Could that have been an ancestor? Could that have been a friend in spirit? Absolutely. Could have been. But my guess is it would be a team. Your chemist guide might come in because it's going to involve the physical body along with grandma or your brother or whoever is in spirit, that they're like, whoa, and they catch you. So that can happen. There's a gazillion stories out there about that kind of thing. So your guides are going to oftentimes use your psychic senses, your clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling, to get information with you and to communicate with you. You might get a picture in your head. You might hear that voice. You might get a feeling. We tend to ignore these things, but that can be our guides trying to get a hold of us and trying to get our attention and trying to say, hey, I'm here. Hello, hello, I'm right here. Imagine how frustrated they must get sometimes when they're like in your face, like, come on, I'm right here. And we just keep going through life completely ignoring them. I know I've done it to children before when I don't want to answer their questions with something besides because I said so, that I would try to ignore them. And they're like, hey, I'm here. I feel like my guides do that a lot of times too. So any quick questions or comments about the information that I went over on the guides? Oh, and I am a little bit over on time. I always am. I try to get you out of here on time. I really try. Okay, why don't we I'm going to pause the recording. We're going to take about 5 minutes or a little less if you can. And then we're going to do a meditation that connects with guide. So I recommend you try to be in a quiet space. You might want to have water nearby. I recommend pen and pencil, somewhere that you're going to notice it once the class is over. I want you to write right away. Don't write tomorrow. You're going to forget half of it. Write it when it's fresh. The thing with journaling about your guides is that oftentimes we get things in bits and pieces. When you do this meditation today, you might see part of a body. So if this is your mind's eye, all of a sudden you might see just a hand come up through and you don't see anything but the hand. Or you might get a color. When my guides first started coming to me, they would present as color. One might be purple, one might be blue, one might be yellow. And they will present the same way every time. So if my chemist guide presents as orange, my chemist guide will always be orange. Every time I see orange, it will be my chemist guide. If I get an itch on the palm of my hand for my master guide will make my palm itch every time they come in. This is called a calling card. And you generally don't notice the first time you connect. So for those of you that this might be your first experience with connecting with a guide, you may not notice a calling card. And sometimes it's years before you notice a calling card. Here's what I want to say briefly, 1 minute. What I'm going to say briefly before we go into the meditation. Don't put any expectations on it. Don't think that you're going to learn 10 things about your guide, or I have to know the name, or I have to know where they came from, or you don't have to know anything. Be absolutely open to whatever they want to give you, because they're going to give you what they feel comfortable giving you. And you may recognize the energy of the soul coming in. You may not recognize the energy of the soul or the spirit guide that's coming in. Some of you, probably a lot of you, are working with spirit guides, which are people that have recorded life. By that means, I don't want to say they were necessarily famous, but there were things written about them. They might be famous. You might be working with Mary Magdalene. You might be working with Jesus. It can happen. You might be, for those of you doing mediumship, you might have Gordon Higginson, and if you don't know who he is, you need to know. Gordon Higginson as one of your guides. Now, why would Gordon Higginson not show himself? Why would Jesus not show himself? Because you're automatically going to go, that can't be real. That's just crap. I'm making it up in my head. Why would they want to work with me? Why wouldn't they want to work with you? Why wouldn't Gordon Higginson want to work with you? He was the medium of all mediums, if, in many people's opinion. And so if you're the next generation of medium, why would he not want to work with you? If you're a kind and loving and caring person and non-judgmental, why would Jesus not want to work with you? That was the energy of his soul. So why would he not want to work with you? But I know, because I've done this myself and said, that's got to be crap. I'm just making that up in my head.
Hey, Lou.
Don't necessarily think. Yes, honey.
Okay, so I had an experience when I was a child, and I didn't really understand. My initials JLC, right? My mom changed my name from like supposed to be Christina, and then she went into the to get a C-section, and then she saw the bionic woman, Jamie.
Yes.
So I'm named after her because of the poster. So my name is JLC, and one night I was sleeping and I was a child, and I saw, like, was dreaming, and I saw rings, and it says JLC, and I heard a voice says, Jesus Lord Christ.
Oh, wow.
And that's my initials. And I didn't know what to this day, until you said something like that, I didn't know what that really meant.
Yeah, but see, if I had told you, and don't, generally you shouldn't be telling people who their guides are. I think it's much, much more beautiful to let the whole experience unfold on its own, and you get to know your guides on your own, rather than having another medium say, oh yeah, you have an Aztec, Indian, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that you got JLC and that's what it meant for you, why couldn't it be Jesus? Why couldn't it be? Absolutely. So I don't want you to rule anything out. Now, that's not to say that we're all working with somebody famous. I am not. My 5 main guides are, I don't want to say they're nobodies, because they would whack me in the head for saying they're nobodies, because I don't mean it that way. But they're not famous. They're not anybody that you can look up in a book. Okay? They're just highly evolved souls that for some reason picked me to work with, or I picked them. I don't know. Did I pick them, or was it, who knows? Maybe we had a conference call and I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we sat at the bar and had a couple scotch on the rocks, who knows? All right. We're going to make it 3 minutes. Okay. 3 minutes, come back in. I'm going to try to hook up music. God, I hope it works. And if it doesn't, you're going to get a meditation without music, but I'll do my best. All right. So just a few minutes.